This is Ghost Shorts 2, and I'm Diane. Welcome. And I'm telling some of my grandmother's stories from when she was a little girl. She's the first person that introduced me to the idea of psychic phenomena because she did have the gift, and her ghost stories were the things that she used to tell me when I was little. So this is number 2. She lived in Ithaca, New York, when she was growing up. And she says the town decided they wanted to take the 2 or 3 blocks of houses where they lived. And they did that a lot there because they thought the Lehigh Valley wanted to buy it up to make new tracks to go through. And she said, so we had to go look for a new house. And that's when we found the beautiful big white house on State Street in Ithaca. All our neighbors moved around us in back, and on the side, I was telling all the neighbors, as little as I was, I know where there's a house for you. It's right where we bought ours. So they all bought those houses and lived there right along. They never sold it or anything. Their houses weren't as nice as ours, and we had a lovely bathroom, which we didn't have before in the other house. It had a beautiful big back porch and a front porch. Aunt Lizzie, Grandma's oldest sister, wasn't married yet then. So we were all in the home, 5 of us, not 5 girls, but my sister Lizzie, my brother Stevie, my sisters Mary and Rose, and myself. The neighbor, Mrs. Yager, didn't say anything right away. But after we were living there a few months, she said, do you know that house is haunted? She said, everybody that moves in there moves right out. And my mother said, oh, I can't believe that. So one morning, my mother came down, and this was after my sister Lizzie was married, and she and her husband came to visit us from Cleveland with their son, Johnny. He was only a little boy then, a little older than Kenny, my son, who was 2, when she told me the story. And that was Johnny Hart. One morning, my mother came down. She had a big burn right across her neck, and she had to go to the doctor. She had a 3rd-degree burn. It was seared right through. Of course, they were always whispering. They didn't want us kids to know that there was anything wrong, but I never felt comfortable in that house. I hated to be alone in it. A few days later, my brother-in-law came down, and his big toe was burned. And he said to my mother, you burned my toe. My mother said, I didn't burn your toe. Who burned my neck? And when Grandma was about 4 or 5 years old, and Lizzie was visiting again with her husband and son, they had to pile up in bed, and she and her younger sister, Rosie, slept with their mother at the end of the bed. And here's the story she tells about that. I slept at the foot of the bed opposite my sister because we were both small. During the night, you know how your hand drops down on the side of the bed? All of a sudden, I woke up and something was holding my hand. It was bony, like a hand, and it was pulling me. I was hanging onto my mother's leg, and every once in a while, I'd let go quick and I'd pound her and pull her leg, and those bony fingers under the bed kept pulling me. Finally, it let go, and my hand was all red and everything. And then my mother woke up. She said, everyone else around will sleep except the person thereafter. My mother turned on the light, and the whole family woke up and came to see what was the matter because I was yelling at the top of my lungs. I said, a ghost was holding my hand. They all looked at each other with that knowing look because they had never said anything to me before that. The woman that haunted that house was at the front door during an electrical storm, and we had a lot of them. And when we had storms up there, the trees would fly up the street, and it would be dark at noon, just black with lightning and everything. She was struck by lightning at the front door, and it burned the whole house down. It killed her, and she was the one that was haunting that house. Someone had built our house right over the same foundation. She was evidently traveling with fire. And when she burned people, it looked as if someone had laid a hot poker on them, like on my mother's neck, and my brother-in-law couldn't wear a shoe over his toe for a long time. He didn't believe in ghosts, he said. There's no such thing. But he also went to the doctor.